welcome. Thank you for choosing to spend this quiet time with me. Settle in, breathe slowly, and allow the gentle sounds to envelop you. My name is Silas, and for some time now, my home has been the Wanderer, a simple train carriage that carries me across landscapes towards new experiences. My travels are quiet ones, seeking the subtle beauty often missed, understanding places not through lists, but through feeling. The gentle rhythm of the rails has carried me from the tranquil tides of Lisbon, through the warm whispers of Marrakesh, and across to the gentle sunsets of Melbourne. Now the steady clickety-clack softens as we approach a new destination, Buenos Aires. Here, in this vibrant Argentinian city, we won't rush. Instead, we will seek out the city's quieter side together. Imagine finding a peaceful corner in a historic café, the scent of strong coffee and sweet pastries mingling in the air, the gentle murmur of conversation, a soothing backdrop. We might wander down shaded lanes where intricate sculptures stand silent watch under dappled sunlight, or listen for the distant, soulful notes of a bandoneon drifting from an open window, a sound that seems to hold the city's heart. We'll look for the beauty in worn stone, in the elegance of a quiet dance step observed from afar, in the simple pleasure of sitting on a park bench as the world drifts by. This journey, like all my journeys, is less about the destinations ticked off a map and more about the moments discovered along the way. It is about slowing down enough to truly see, to notice the way light catches the ironwork on a balcony, the texture of an old wooden door, the quiet dignity in the faces of passers-by. It's about immersing ourselves in the atmosphere, letting the gentle pace soothe the mind. I'll share the quiet thoughts and small observations that surface as we explore, inviting you to simply be present with me. So, allow yourself to relax completely. Let the gentle narrative guide you as we step off the Wanderer and into the quiet corners of Buenos Aires. If you find solace and peace in these shared moments, perhaps consider liking this recording or subscribing to the channel. It helps others seeking tranquility find their way here too. For now though, let's simply rest and let our quiet journey begin. Chapter 1. Whispers of the Pampas. The steady rhythm of the Wanderer on the tracks is a familiar heartbeat, a constant companion across continents. Outside the large window, the landscape stretches, vast and unending. This is the Pampas. Flat grasslands roll away towards a horizon that feels impossibly distant, painted in soft, pale greens and golds under a sky immense and overwhelmingly blue. Trees are scarce, appearing only in small, clustered huddles near unseen sources of water, or marking the faint outline of a distant estancia, a silent testament to human presence in this ocean of land. The scale of it all invites quiet contemplation, a feeling of being a small, moving point in an enormous, still canvas. Inside my carriage, the familiar comforts remain. The smooth, worn wood of the small writing desk beneath my fingertips feels cool. The gentle hum of the train's engine is a low, soothing drone, barely noticeable after so much time spent living with it. Sunlight streams in, warm on my arm, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. I watch the subtle shifts in the landscape, the way the light changes the color of the grass, the occasional sight of birds taking flight, the slow drift of clouds casting moving shadows across the plains. There's a quiet emptiness here, but it doesn't feel lonely. It feels peaceful, full of space for thoughts to drift and settle. I think back to the gentle sunsets of Melbourne, the last place the Wanderer rested. The energy there felt different, coastal, brighter perhaps. Here, approaching Buenos Aires, there's a sense of deep-rooted earth, a connection to the land that feels ancient and profound, even as the city nears. I trace a line on the condensation of my window, imagining the transition, the grasslands eventually giving way to the structured life of a metropolis. The train slows almost imperceptibly, the rhythm shifting slightly, a sign that we are drawing closer. I take a slow sip from the small gourd resting on the table beside me. Yerba mate. I learned to prepare it simply, observing others on previous journeys through parts of South America. The slightly bitter, grassy taste is grounding, a small ritual connecting me to the place I am heading towards. It warms me from the inside, a gentle counterpoint to the vast coolness outside the window. Holding the gourd, feeling its smooth surface, becomes a small anchor in the steady flow of travel. It's these little connections, these quiet adoptions of local custom, that make the journey feel richer. My small notebook lies open on the desk, its pages filled with observations from past travels, sketches of street corners in Lisbon, notes on the scent of spices in Marrakesh. I pick up my pen, its weight familiar in my hand, but pause before writing. What words can capture this expanse, this quiet prelude to a bustling city? Sometimes observation itself feels more fitting than description. I simply watch, letting the feeling of the place soak in, content to be a silent witness to the unfolding landscape. The light begins to soften as the afternoon wears on. The shadows lengthen, stretching long fingers across the plains. The sky takes on warmer hues near the horizon, soft pinks and oranges bleeding into the deepening blue above. There's a stillness settling over the land, a quiet hush before evening. Even the train seems to adopt this quieter pace, its rhythmic pulse slowing, preparing for the final approach. A sense of gentle anticipation builds within me, not of excitement, but of quiet curiosity about the city waiting ahead. I gather my few belongings, ensuring my worn leather satchel is ready by the door. It holds my camera, my notebook, the essentials for stepping out into a new place. The preparation is simple, unhurried. It's less about arriving and more about being ready for the transition, moving smoothly from the familiar cocoon of the train into the unknown embrace of the city. The air inside the carriage feels still, expectant. Looking out one last time, I see the first scattered lights appearing in the distance, pinpricks against the darkening land. The city is announcing itself, not with a roar, but with a soft growing glow. The Pampas recede into the twilight, their whispered secrets kept for now. The wanderer glides forward, carrying me towards the heart of Buenos Aires, towards the quiet corners I hope to find. The journey continues, softly, steadily. Chapter 2. City Rhythms. The train glides into Retiro station with a final, gentle sigh of brakes. The rhythmic clickety-clack fades, replaced by the echoing sounds of a grand, cavernous space. Stepping down from the wanderer, I pause for a moment on the platform, taking it all in. Retiro station is magnificent, a cathedral of iron and glass arching high overhead, reminiscent of grand European terminals. Sunlight filters down through the vaulted roof, illuminating the vast concourse below in shifting patterns. There's a sense of history here, of countless arrivals and departures etched into the very structure. The air hums with activity, a different energy than the quiet plains. Conversations in Castellano, the Argentine Spanish, rise and fall around me, the accent distinct, melodic. Suitcase wheels rumble across the polished floor, announcements echo softly from unseen speakers. Yet, amidst the flow of people moving with purpose, there's not the frantic rush I might have expected. There's a certain porteño pace, a blend of European formality and Latin energy that feels unique. I stand still for a moment, simply observing, letting the initial wave of sensory input wash over me without feeling overwhelmed. My leather satchel feels comfortable and familiar slung across my shoulder. I adjust its strap, a small grounding action. Navigating the station isn't difficult. Signs are clear, and the flow of people naturally guides towards the main exits. I walk slowly, letting my eyes wander over the details, the intricate ironwork supporting the roof, the faded grandeur of the large clocks, the small kiosks selling newspapers and pastries. It feels like stepping into a living piece of history, a gateway to the city's soul. Outside the station, the city unfolds. The air is milder than I expected, carrying a mix of urban scents vehicle exhaust, baking bread from a nearby panaderia, a faint hint of river water from the nearby Rio de la Plata. Broad avenues stretch outwards, lined with impressive buildings that speak of past prosperity. Many possess a distinctly Parisian feel, with ornate balconies, mansard roofs, and elegant facades. I hail a taxi, a simple black and yellow car. The driver greets me with a nod and a quiet, "Buenas tardes." I give him the address of the small guest house I've booked in Palermo, my pronunciation careful, but hopefully clear. The taxi pulls away from the curb smoothly, merging into the flow of traffic. Through the window, the city passes by in a series of vignettes. We drive past grand plazas, statues commemorating historical figures standing tall amidst manicured gardens. Tree-lined streets offer glimpses of residential life, people strolling, walking dogs, sitting at sidewalk cafes. The architecture remains striking, a blend of styles that tells a story of immigration, ambition, and European influence. I resist the urge to pull out my camera immediately, choosing instead to just watch, absorbing the initial impressions. The sounds of the city filter through the open window, the occasional car horn, the rumble of a bus, snippets of music from passing shops, the rhythmic calls of street vendors. It's a complex soundscape, layered and constant, yet somehow less jarring than in other large cities I've visited. Perhaps it's the width of the avenues, the prevalence of trees, or simply the inherent rhythm of Buenos Aires life that softens the edges. My driver navigates the streets with practiced ease, occasionally humming softly to a tune on the radio. As we move further from the center towards the neighborhood of Palermo, the scale begins to shift. The buildings become slightly lower, the streets narrower and quieter, shaded by large plane trees whose leaves form a green canopy overhead. More small shops appear, independent boutiques, neighborhood grocers, cozy cafes spilling onto the pavement. There's a palpable change in atmosphere, less formal, more intimate, a feeling of community settling in. I feel a sense of quiet anticipation, hoping this area will offer the gentle pace I seek. The taxi pulls over on a tranquil cobbled street lined with trees and charming two-story houses. "Aquí estamos," the driver announces softly. I pay the fare, adding a small tip, and step out onto the pavement. The air here feels calmer, scented with blossoms from unseen gardens. I look at the simple, elegant facade of the guest house, its wrought iron balcony overflowing geraniums. This feels right. Taking a slow breath, I turn towards the entrance, ready to settle into this quiet corner, my first haven in Buenos Aires. Chapter 3. A quiet haven in Palermo. The door to the guest house opens into a cool, high-ceilinged entryway. Polished terracotta tiles stretch across the floor, worn smooth by time, reflecting the soft light filtering in from a transom window above the heavy wooden door. There's an immediate sense of stepping into a calmer world, leaving the city's gentle hum behind. A friendly woman with warm eyes greets me from behind a small antique desk, her Spanish soft and welcoming. The check-in process is simple, unhurried. She hands me a vintage-style key attached to a heavy brass fob. She leads me up a narrow wooden staircase that creaks faintly underfoot, a comforting sound. The walls along the stairs are painted a soft ochre, adorned with a few simple framed photographs depicting old Buenos Aires scenes. We reach the first floor and walk along a quiet corridor. She stops before a door, unlocks it and pushes it open, gesturing for me to enter. Su habitación, she says with a gentle smile. My room. It's simple, spacious, and instantly calming. The room itself is dominated by a large window that looks out onto the quiet street below, shaded by the leaves of the plane tree just outside. Sunlight filters through the leaves, dappling the wooden floorboards in shifting patterns of light and shadow. The walls are painted a soothing cream color. There's a comfortable-looking bed with a simple white duvet, a small wooden wardrobe, a writing desk similar in style to the one on the Wanderer, and a single armchair upholstered in a soft, faded floral fabric. It feels peaceful, uncluttered, a space designed for rest. I place my satchel gently on the bed and walk towards the window. Pushing open the tall wooden shutters, I step out onto the small wrought iron balcony. Below, the cobbled street is quiet. An elderly man walks slowly past, carrying a bag of groceries. A cat stretches languidly in a patch of sunlight on the opposite pavement. The air is filled with the gentle sounds of the neighborhood distant birdsong, the faint murmur of conversation from an unseen courtyard, the rustle of leaves in the breeze. It feels wonderfully tranquil, a true haven. Returning inside, I begin to unpack, slowly and deliberately. This ritual always helps me settle into a new space. I hang my few clothes in the wardrobe, place my notebook and pen on the desk, and set my camera carefully beside them. Each item placed feels like putting down a small root, anchoring myself gently to this temporary home. The room smells faintly of lemon polish and old wood, a clean and comforting scent. I run my hand over the smooth, cool surface of the desk, appreciating its solidity. I notice the details, the slight imperfection in the plaster on the wall, the simple elegance of the brass light fittings, the way the floorboards creak softly when I walk across them. These small characteristics give the room personality, make it feel lived in and authentic, not sterile or impersonal. It feels less like a hotel room and more like borrowing a quiet corner of someone's home. I sit in the armchair for a few moments, simply breathing, letting the stillness of the room envelop me. From the open window, I can hear the faint rhythmic chime of a distant church bell marking the hour. It's a gentle reminder of time passing, but in a way that feels unhurried, organic. Below, the cat has curled up for a nap. The afternoon light deepens, turning golden. I feel a sense of quiet contentment settling over me. The journey here was smooth, the arrival gentle, and this room feels like the perfect place to pause, reflect, and gather myself before venturing out to explore the quiet corners of Buenos Aires. For now, though, there is no rush. I decide to simply rest here for a little while longer, letting the sounds and the light of this peaceful Palermo street become familiar. I lean back in the armchair, close my eyes and listen. The distant city hum is still there, a low undercurrent, but here on this quiet street, in this tranquil room, it feels a world away. This is the stillness I travel for, the pause between the notes, the quiet space where you can truly feel a place begin to reveal itself. Chapter 4. Café Contemplation. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows as I walk through the tree-lined streets of Palermo. The air is pleasantly warm, carrying the scent of jasmine from hidden gardens. I'm seeking a café notable, one of the historic cafés that are such an integral part of Buenos Aires life. I wander without a specific destination in mind, preferring to let discovery happen naturally. Turning a corner, I spotted a café with large windows, dark wood trim, and tables spilling onto the pavement under a striped awning. It looks inviting, possessing an air of timeless elegance. Pushing open the heavy glass and wood door, I step inside. The atmosphere shifts immediately. The air is cooler, filled with the rich aroma of roasted coffee and pastries. The interior is all dark wood paneling, brass fittings, and mirrors that reflect the soft lighting, making the space feel larger and deeper. Small, round, marble-topped tables are surrounded by sturdy wooden chairs. The gentle clatter of ceramic cups on saucers and the low murmur of conversation create a soothing soundscape. It feels like stepping back in time, yet utterly alive. I choose a small table near the back, away from the door but with a good view of the room. A waiter, an older gentleman, dignified in his crisp white shirt and black apron, approaches almost immediately. He doesn't hurry me, simply stands patiently, notepad in hand. "Buenas tardes," I murmur, returning his polite nod. I order a café con leche and 2 medialunas, the small crescent-shaped pastries ubiquitous in Argentine cafés. He jots it down with practiced efficiency and moves away silently. While I wait, I simply observe. At a nearby table, 2 elderly men are engrossed in a game of chess, their faces studies in concentration. Near the window, a woman sits alone reading a thick book, occasionally pausing to gaze thoughtfully out at the street. The waiters, or mozos, move with a quiet grace, weaving between tables, delivering orders, clearing cups, their movements economical and precise. There's a rhythm to the place, a steady, unhurried flow that encourages lingering. My coffee arrives swiftly, served in a thick ceramic cup alongside a small glass of sparkling water, and the 2 golden medialunas nestled on a plate. The café con leche is perfect, strong, smooth coffee balanced by steamed milk, topped with a light foam. The aroma alone is comforting. I take a slow sip, savoring the warmth and the rich flavor. The medialunas are slightly sweet, flaky, and delicious, the perfect accompaniment. Eating and drinking slowly, mindfully, feels like part of the ritual here. I pull out my small, worn notebook and pen from my satchel, laying them on the marble tabletop. I don't feel pressured to write immediately, but having them there feels right. Cafes like this seem designed for contemplation, for watching the world go by, for letting thoughts drift and settle. I watch the interactions, the brief exchanges between patrons and waiters, the quiet greetings between regulars. There's a sense of community here, an unspoken understanding among those who gather in this shared space.
The light outside begins to fade, and the lamps inside the cafe cast a warmer, more intimate glow. The reflections in the mirrors deepen, creating layers of light and shadow. The sounds remain gentle, the hiss of the espresso machine from the counter, the soft clink of spoons against cups, the hushed tones of conversation. It's a comforting symphony of small sounds. I make a few notes in my journal, not detailed descriptions, but impressions, the feeling of timelessness, the quiet dignity of the mozo, the specific taste of the coffee. Finishing my coffee, I signal discreetly for the bill. The mozo brings it promptly on a small silver tray. The price is modest. I leave payment along with a small tip, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. Spending an hour or so in this cafe has felt like plugging into the city's gentle current, experiencing a fundamental aspect of Porteño culture, not as a tourist spectacle, but as a quiet participant. It's these simple, everyday rituals that often reveal the most about a place. Leaving the cafe, stepping back out into the twilight air of Palermo, I feel refreshed, centered, and quietly content. Chapter 5. Whispers in Recoleta. Today, I find myself drawn towards Recoleta, towards its famous cemetery. It might seem an unusual place to seek tranquility, but I've heard it described as a city within a city, a place of unexpected beauty and quiet contemplation. Entering through the grand neoclassical gate feels less like entering a place of sorrow, and more like stepping into an open-air museum, a repository of history and art sculpted in stone. The scale is impressive, rows upon rows of mausoleums lining paved streets, each structure unique, telling a silent story. I deliberately avoid the main pathways where tour groups tend to congregate, instead turning down narrower, quieter lanes paved with worn tiles. Here, the atmosphere shifts. Sunlight filters down through the leaves of tall cypress trees and the branches of ancient gums, creating intricate patterns of light and shadow on the marble and granite facades. The air is still and quiet, the distant sounds of the city muffled, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves and the occasional bird song. It feels remarkably peaceful. The mausoleums themselves are fascinating. They range from modest chapel-like structures to grand, elaborate monuments adorned with intricate carvings, stained glass, and bronze statues. Weathered angels with sorrowful expressions stand guard, their stone wings flecked with moss. Names and dates are carved into marble plaques, silent testaments to lives lived long ago, generals, presidents, artists, wealthy families. I walk slowly, pausing often, observing the details, the patina on a bronze door, the delicate carving of a flower on a tombstone, the way ivy climbs gently up a stone wall. There's an undeniable artistry here. Sculptures display incredible craftsmanship, capturing flowing robes, serene expressions, or profound grief in cold stone. Even the decay feels somehow beautiful, the weathered surfaces, the subtle erosion, the gentle reclaiming by nature. It doesn't feel morbid. Rather, it feels like a quiet acceptance of time's passage, a place where memory is held in tangible form. I find myself reflecting on the lives represented here, wondering about their stories, their contributions to the city beyond these walls. Unexpectedly, there is life here too. Cats, sleek and well-fed, are the cemetery's silent residents. They lounge regally atop sun-warmed tombs, stretch languidly in patches of sunlight, or weave silently between the mausoleums, seemingly undisturbed by visitors. Watching them adds a layer of gentle normalcy to the surroundings. A small ginger cat blinks slowly at me from its perch on a marble ledge before curling up for a nap. Their peaceful presence softens the edges of the stone city. I find a quiet bench tucked away in a small, sun-dappled plaza between several impressive tombs. Sitting here, surrounded by silence and history, feels deeply calming. I close my eyes for a moment, listening. The silence isn't absolute. There's the whisper of the breeze, the distant chirp of a sparrow, the soft crunch of gravel as another solitary visitor walks slowly down a nearby lane. It's a peaceful soundscape, conducive to quiet thought. I think about how cultures choose to remember their dead, the effort and artistry invested in creating this place. Opening my eyes, I notice the intricate detail on the mausoleum opposite, small, carved birds half hidden amongst stone foliage. It's a subtle touch, easily missed, but it speaks of care and attention. It's these small discoveries, these quiet moments of observation, that make exploring places like this so rewarding. I don't feel sadness here, but rather a profound sense of peace and a connection to the continuity of time. This city of the dead feels surprisingly alive with history, art, and quiet contemplation. As the afternoon begins to wane, I slowly make my way back towards the entrance, choosing different lanes, discovering new perspectives. The golden light enhances the textures of the stone, making the sculptures seem softer, more lifelike. Leaving the cemetery feels like emerging from a quiet dream, stepping back into the gentle rhythm of the living city. The whispers of Recoleta stay with me, not voices of ghosts, but the quiet murmur of history, art, and the unexpected tranquility found in this beautiful, silent city. Chapter 6. Literary Echoes. Today my steps lead me towards Santa Fe Avenue, towards a place I've heard whispers about, a bookstore housed within a grand old theater. El Ateneo Grand Splendid. Even the name suggests something remarkable. Arriving before it, the facade is elegant but doesn't fully prepare me for the spectacle within. Pushing through the entrance doors, I step into a space that takes my breath away. It truly is a theater, transformed. The stalls where audiences once sat are now filled with rows upon rows of bookshelves. The ornate boxes lining the curved balconies hold more books, and the grand stage, framed by heavy velvet curtains, now houses a cafe. The sheer scale is astounding, yet paradoxically, it doesn't feel overwhelming. Perhaps it's the inherent quietness of a bookstore, the shared reverence for the written word that permeates the air. The high, frescoed ceiling arches far above, depicting allegorical scenes in soft, faded colors. Intricate plasterwork and gilded details adorn the theater's original architecture. Light spills down from unseen sources, illuminating the vast space with a soft, even glow. The dominant scent is that unmistakable, comforting aroma of paper and ink, layered with the faint hint of aged bindings. I wander through the aisles on the main floor, running my fingers lightly over the spines of books. Titles in Spanish predominate, covering every imaginable subject. People browse quietly, absorbed in their own searches, occasionally pulling out a volume to inspect it more closely. There's a hushed atmosphere, a collective respect for the quiet pursuit of knowledge and story. Even the presence of the Café on the stage doesn't disrupt the peace. The clink of cups is softened by the vastness of the space. Drawn by curiosity, I ascend one of the wide staircases leading to the balconies. From here, the view is even more impressive, looking down over the sea of bookshelves below and across to the stage. Many of the theater boxes have been preserved, complete with their velvet seats, now serving as intimate reading nooks. I find an empty one overlooking the main floor. Settling into the plush velvet armchair feels wonderfully decadent, yet perfectly peaceful. It offers a quiet vantage point, a place to observe without being conspicuous. Sitting here, surrounded by books in this grand repurposed space, feels symbolic of Buenos Aires itself, a city that cherishes its history, its culture, its arts, and finds ways to weave them into the fabric of contemporary life. I watch people below selecting books, couples browsing hand in hand, students searching for texts. Each person seems cocooned in their own world, yet part of this larger silent communion of readers. The air hums with unspoken stories, both those contained within the books and those unfolding in the lives of the people around me. I haven't come here searching for a specific book. My purpose is simply to absorb the atmosphere, to experience this unique intersection of architecture, history, and literature. I lean back in the armchair, letting the quiet energy of the place wash over me. The grandeur doesn't feel imposing. It feels embracing, like stepping into a vast, quiet library of dreams. It's a testament to the enduring power of stories and the places we create to house them. After some time, I reluctantly leave my quiet perch in the theater box. I browse a little more, drawn to a section on Argentine photography, admiring the stark black and white images capturing moments of everyday life from decades past. I select a small book of poetry by Jorge Luis Borges, perhaps the city's most famous literary son. Holding it feels like holding a small piece of the city's soul. Paying at the counter is a simple transaction, yet feels like acquiring a meaningful souvenir. Stepping back out onto the bustling Santa Fe Avenue feels like returning to a different world. The quiet reverence of El Ateneo remains with me, a lingering echo. It wasn't just a bookstore, it was an experience, a peaceful immersion in the city's deep love affair with words. Carrying the small book of poems, I walk slowly back towards Palermo, feeling enriched by the quiet encounter with Buenos Aires' literary heart. Chapter 7, Palermo's Green Heart. The vast expanse of the Bosques de Palermo offers a welcome contrast to the city's structured streets. This network of parks, lakes, and gardens feels like the city's lungs, a place where nature asserts itself amidst the urban environment. I choose to explore the Rosedal, the Rose Garden, hoping for a relatively quiet experience on this weekday morning. Entering the meticulously maintained garden, the air immediately feels different, softer, scented with the delicate perfume of countless roses. Paths wind gracefully between manicured beds, each showcasing different varieties of roses in a stunning array of colors: deep reds, soft pinks, vibrant yellows, pure whites. The sheer number and variety are impressive, but it's the overall atmosphere of tranquility that captivates me. Gardeners work quietly, tending to the bushes with focused care. Water features gurgle softly, their gentle sounds adding to the peaceful ambiance. White-painted benches are strategically placed, inviting pauses for contemplation. I find a secluded bench beneath a large leafy pergola draped in climbing roses. From here I can observe the garden without feeling intrusive. Pigeons strut along the pathways, occasionally taking flight in a soft flutter of wings. Bees hum industriously amongst the blossoms. A few other people are strolling through the garden, an elderly couple walking arm in arm, a young woman sketching in a notebook.
A father gently pushing his child on a swing in a nearby playground area. The pace is slow, relaxed. Sitting here, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the roses and the gentle sounds of nature, feels restorative. The greenness is soothing to the eyes after the predominantly stone and plaster palette of the city buildings. I watch the play of sunlight on the petals, noticing the intricate details, the velvety texture, the subtle variations in color, the way dewdrops cling like tiny jewels in the early morning light. It's a reminder of the simple, profound beauty that nature offers, even within a bustling metropolis. I take out my own notebook, not to write extensively, but perhaps to sketch a particularly beautiful bloom or jot down a fleeting thought. The act of drawing, like photography, encourages close observation, noticing details that might otherwise be overlooked. I attempt to capture the delicate curve of a petal, the way the light hits its surface. It doesn't have to be perfect. The process itself is meditative, focusing the mind on the present moment, on the simple act of seeing and translating that sight onto paper. After a while, I continue my walk, moving beyond the formal rose garden towards one of the park's larger lakes. Here, the landscape feels a little wilder, less manicured. Tall trees line the water's edge, their reflections shimmering on the calm surface. Ducks glide serenely across the water, leaving V-shaped wakes behind them. People are jogging along the lakeside path, rowing boats drift lazily in the distance, families picnic on grassy banks. It's a scene of gentle, everyday leisure. I find another bench facing the lake, content to simply sit and watch. The breeze rustling through the leaves of the trees creates a soft, whispering sound. The sun feels warm on my skin. It's easy to forget you're in the heart of a major South American capital. This green oasis provides a vital space for residents to connect with nature, to unwind, to simply be. Observing this gentle rhythm of local life feels like gaining a quiet insight into the city's character. As midday approaches, the park becomes slightly busier, but the atmosphere remains relaxed. The sounds of children's laughter drift over from the playground, mingling with the birdsong and the distant city hum. I feel a sense of quiet gratitude for this green heart beating within Buenos Aires. It's a place not just of natural beauty, but of communal peace, a shared space where the city pauses to breathe. Rising from the bench, I walk slowly towards the park exit, carrying the tranquility of the Bosque de Palermo with me. Chapter 8. Tango's Gentle Soul. Tango. It feels inseparable from the identity of Buenos Aires. Yet I'm not seeking the intensity of a formal show or the crowded energy of a late-night milonga. I'm hoping to encounter its spirit more gently, more organically. Wandering through the historic neighborhood of San Telmo on a quiet afternoon, exploring its cobbled streets and colonial architecture, I find myself drawn towards Plaza Dorrego. Even on a weekday, the plaza holds a certain charm, surrounded by antique shops and cafes. And there, in a relatively quiet corner of the plaza, under the shade of old trees, I see them. An older couple, perhaps in their late 60s or early 70s, are dancing. There's no audience gathered, no music playing loudly from speakers. Just the faint, melancholic strains of a bandoneon drifting from a small, portable player set discreetly beside them. They move together with a quiet intensity, their steps practiced, fluid, deeply familiar. It feels less like a performance and more like a private conversation expressed through movement.
I find an unobtrusive spot on a nearby stone bench, careful not to stare or interrupt their intimate ritual. From this slight distance, I can appreciate the elegance and the connection between them. The man leads with subtle cues, a slight pressure of the hand, a shift in posture. The woman follows with grace and trust, her eyes often closed, seemingly lost in the music and the movement. Their feet trace intricate patterns on the dusty flagstones, sometimes slow and deliberate, sometimes quick and sharp, but always perfectly synchronized. The music itself, the soulful sound of the bandoneon, is captivating. It speaks of nostalgia, passion, a certain dignified sorrow. It fills the quiet corner of the plaza with emotion, weaving a spell around the dancers. Listening intently, I can almost feel the history embedded in the notes, the stories of countless porteños who have found expression and connection through this dance. It's a sound that feels uniquely Buenos Aires, melancholic yet resilient. Watching the couple, I'm struck by their focus, their absorption in the dance and in each other. Their faces are serious, concentrated, yet there's an underlying tenderness in their interactions, a lifetime of shared understanding communicated through posture and touch. It's incredibly moving to witness tango not as a flashy spectacle, but as a deep personal expression, a shared language. This feels like the true soul of the dance, stripped bare of performance and presented with quiet authenticity. They pause between songs, exchanging a few soft words, a gentle smile. The man wipes his brow, the woman adjusts her shoe. Then the bandoneon music starts again, a different melody this time, perhaps slightly more upbeat, and they fall back into the embrace, resuming their silent conversation on the stones of the plaza. Other passers-by glance over, some pause briefly to watch, but mostly the couple is left undisturbed in their world. I sit for a long time, simply observing, listening, feeling. I don't reach for my camera or my notebook. Some moments are best experienced directly, absorbed through the senses without the filter of documentation. This quiet encounter feels like a gift, a privileged glimpse into the heart of tango culture, far removed from the tourist trail. It speaks volumes about connection, tradition, and the enduring power of music and dance to express the depths of human emotion. Eventually, the couple finishes their practice. They pack away their small music player, share another quiet word, and walk away slowly, arm in arm, disappearing down one of San Telmo's narrow streets. The corner of the plaza feels empty now, the lingering echo of the bandoneon fading into the afternoon air. I remain on the bench for a few more minutes, reflecting on what I witnessed. It was a simple scene, yet profound, a quiet reminder that the soul of a culture often resides not in its grandest displays, but in its most intimate, unadorned moments. Chapter 9. Lingering Moments. Back in the quiet haven of my room in Palermo, the late afternoon light streams through the window, illuminating the space with a warm golden glow. It's time to prepare for departure. The wanderer waits, ready to carry me onwards. The process of packing is always a reflective one for me. I fold my few clothes slowly, deliberately, placing them back into my soft bag. Each item seems to hold a faint memory of this place: the shirt I wore while sitting in the café, the trousers dusted from the paths of Recoleta Cemetery. I pause at the window, looking down onto the familiar cobbled street. The plane tree rustles its leaves in a gentle breeze. The sounds of the neighborhood, the distant chime of a bell, the murmur of unseen neighbors, The occasional passing bicycle have become a comforting soundscape during my stay. It's strange how quickly a place can begin to feel familiar, how easily routines, even simple ones like a morning walk to a local bakery, can form. I'll miss this quiet corner. My gaze falls upon the small book of Borges poetry resting on the desk. I pick it up, tracing the letters of his name with my finger. It feels like a tangible link to the city's literary soul, a quiet reminder of the afternoon spent in the grandeur of El Ateneo. I carefully place it in my satchel alongside my notebook and camera. My satchel itself feels heavier now, not just with physical objects, but with the weight of experiences, observations, feelings gathered during my time here. Before leaving the room for the last time, I stand for a moment in the center, taking a slow look around. The simple furniture, the way the light falls across the floor, the view from the window, it's all etched into my memory. I run my hand one last time over the cool wood of the desk. There's a quiet sense of gratitude for the peace and comfort this space has provided, a temporary anchor in my ongoing journey. It served its purpose beautifully. Downstairs, I return the heavy brass key to the kind woman at the desk. We exchange simple pleasantries in Spanish. I thank her for her hospitality. Muchas gracias por todo. She smiles warmly, wishing me a good journey. Buen viaje. It's a brief interaction, yet feels genuine and kind, typical of the gentle courtesy I've encountered here. Stepping out of the guest house door and onto the pavement feels final. I decide on one last short walk through the immediate neighborhood before heading to the station. The air is soft, the evening light beautiful. I pass the familiar corner bakery, the small grocer's shop, the cafe where I enjoyed my first café con leche. On impulse, I step into the bakery. The smell of baking bread and sweet pastries is wonderful. I buy a couple of facturas, different kinds this time, carefully wrapped in paper. A small taste of Buenos Aires to take with me on the train. Walking towards the main road to find a taxi, I notice small details I might have missed before: colorful tiles embedded in a doorway, intricate ironwork on a window grill, a sleeping cat curled on a doorstep. Buenos Aires reveals itself slowly, subtly, rewarding quiet observation. There's a gentle melancholy in leaving, as there always is when departing a place that has offered moments of peace and connection. Hailing a taxi, I give the driver the destination, Retiro Station. As the car pulls away, I look back at the tree-lined street, fixing the image in my mind. My time in Buenos Aires wasn't about grand adventures or ticking off sights. It was about finding these quiet corners, observing the rhythms of everyday life, experiencing the city's unique blend of elegance, history, and soulful introspection. Carrying my small bag of pastries and a satchel full of memories, I feel ready for the next stage of the journey, grateful for the lingering moments this city shared. Chapter 10. Fading footsteps. The familiar, gentle rumble of the wanderer begins again, a soothing vibration felt through the floorboards of my carriage. Through the large window, Retiro Station slides slowly past, its grand ironwork and glass receding into the evening twilight. The platform lights cast long, distorted reflections on the wet pavement left by a brief shower. Then, the station is gone, replaced by the complex tapestry of the city gliding by. Lights flicker on in apartment windows. Headlights trace bright lines along darkening avenues. Buenos Aires unfolds in reverse, the grand buildings of the center giving way to the lower structures of the suburbs. the density gradually thinning. Streetlights create pools of warm orange glow on the pavements. I watch the silhouettes of people walking home, heading towards cafes, disappearing into doorways. Each light represents a life, a story, unfolding within the vastness of the city I am now leaving behind. There's a beauty in this receding view, a detached yet intimate perspective offered only by the slow departure of a train. I settle into my usual armchair near the window, the small bag of facturas resting on the table beside me. I pour myself some water from the carafe. The familiar comforts of my carriage embrace me once more, the scent of wood and old books, the soft upholstery, the gentle rocking motion. It feels good to be back in this moving sanctuary, this constant amidst the ever-changing scenery. Yet, a part of my thoughts remains with the city fading in the distance. Buenos Aires. It wasn't loud or demanding of attention in the ways I experienced it. It revealed itself in quiet moments, the hushed reverence of El Ateneo, the peaceful solitude of the Recoleta Cemetery, the gentle connection of the tango dancers in Plaza Dorrego, the simple pleasure of coffee in a historic cafe, the leafy tranquility of Palermo's parks and streets. Its city of subtle layers, of history mingling with the present, of European elegance infused with a distinct Latin soul, tinged with a gentle, pervasive melancholy. I open my notebook, intending to write, but find myself simply gazing out the window instead. The city lights become sparser, interspersed with darker patches of land. The urban sprawl slowly dissolves, transitioning back towards the open landscape. The sky above is darkening to a deep indigo, pricked with the first stars. The rhythmic clickety-clack of the wheels on the track becomes the dominant sound again, a familiar lullaby. I pick up one of the pastries, a spiral shape dusted with sugar. Taking a bite, the flaky pastry and sweet filling flood my senses, a final taste of Buenos Aires. It's a simple thing, yet it connects me back to the warmth of the bakery, the quiet streets of Palermo, the feeling of the city. These small sensory anchors are often the most powerful carriers of memory. I savor it slowly, making the small pleasure last. Reflecting on my time, I realize Buenos Aires taught me about finding beauty in introspection, in history, in the quiet dignity of its people and places. It encouraged a slower pace, a deeper observation. It wasn't a city that shouted its charms, but rather whispered them, revealing its secrets to those willing to listen closely, to look beyond the surface. The quiet corners weren't just physical locations. They were moments of connection, understanding, and peace. The wanderer travels steadily onwards through the Argentine night. The city is now just a faint glow on the horizon behind us. Ahead lies the darkness of the countryside, holding the promise of new landscapes, new dawns. I feel a quiet sense of closure on this chapter of my journey, and a gentle anticipation for whatever lies ahead. Closing my notebook, I lean my head back against the armchair, letting the rhythmic motion of the train soothe me. The wheels turn, the journey continues, and the fading footsteps of Buenos Aires echo softly in my memory.